Last night's episode of The View witnessed an explosive confrontation when White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt declared, "I'm done with this," and systematically dismantled Joy Behar's decades of political commentary with evidence that left the longtime host speechless. The 27-year-old communications director didn't just defend her position. She exposed something so damaging about The View's political bias that ABC is now facing congressional inquiry. But what started as a discussion about press transparency would reveal disturbing truths about how the show coordinates political attacks with partisan operatives. The ABC studios were charged with tension from the moment Karoline Leavitt arrived that morning. The youngest ever White House press secretary was there to discuss media relations and transparency in government. But Joy Behar had prepared what she called a reality check for the Trump apologist. A production assistant later revealed that Joy had spent 3 hours with researchers preparing what she termed gotcha questions and had explicitly said, "This little girl needs to learn what real journalism looks like." The makeup room atmosphere was particularly telling, with Leavitt calmly reviewing notes while overhearing crew members making comments about her age and appearance. One cameraman would later admit he was told to get unflattering angles because Joy wanted her to look as young and inexperienced as possible. Therefore, when the cameras began rolling at 11:05 a.m., everyone except Leavitt seemed to know an ambush was coming. The show opened with its typical Hot Topic segment, but Joy made several pointed comments about children playing government and inexperienced appointees who think they understand media. The audience laughed nervously, not yet understanding these were direct shots at Leavitt, who was waiting backstage. Whoopi tried to steer toward lighter topics, but Joy kept returning to themes of youth, inexperience, and people who don't know what they don't know. Sarah Haynes looked visibly uncomfortable, later revealing she tried to warn producers this approach would backfire. Alyssa Farah Griffin, who had worked in the previous administration, kept shaking her head slightly, recognizing the trap being set. "Please welcome White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt," Whoopi announced with professional neutrality. Leavitt walked out with confident strides, her youth immediately apparent, but her bearing entirely professional. The audience response was mixed but respectful. She greeted each host cordially, though her handshake with Joy was notably brief and formal. "Karoline, welcome to The View," Whoopi began carefully. "You're the youngest person ever to hold your position. That must be challenging." But before Leavitt could respond, Joy interrupted. "Challenging? She's 27 years old. I have shoes older than her. What could she possibly know about managing the press?" Joy said, her voice dripping with condescension. Leavitt paused, studying Joy with the kind of composure that comes from handling hostile press conferences daily. "Good morning to you too, Joy. I know about managing the press because I do it every day, but you seem to have strong opinions about my qualifications. Should we discuss yours?" she replied calmly. "I've been in this business for 40 years, Joy said defensively. "In show business, yes. In journalism? Not so much. You were a comedian who became a talk show host. I have a degree in political science and communications, worked on multiple campaigns, and now serve in the highest communications role in government. But please, tell me more about how age equals competence," Leavitt responded. The reversal was immediate and surgical. Joy's face flushed red. "I don't need lectures from someone who could be my granddaughter," she snapped. "And I don't need condescension from someone who confused the Constitution with the Declaration of Independence on air last week. Should we discuss that?" Leavitt asked. Therefore, the battle lines were drawn instantly. The audience gasped at the reference to Joy's recent on-air mistake that had gone viral. But Joy doubled down on her attack strategy. "You stand at that podium and lie for a living," Joy accused. "I present the administration's position. You present opinions as facts. Which one of us is more honest about what we do?" Leavitt countered. She pulled out her phone. "Should I read your tweet from yesterday where you claimed unemployment was at 40%? It's actually at 3.8%. That's not opinion, Joy. That's you lying to your 3 million followers," she said. "That was a typo," Joy claimed weakly. "Was it also a typo when you said the same thing on air? Or when you repeated it in 3 different segments? At what point does a typo become misinformation?" Leavitt pressed. But then she revealed something that changed the entire dynamic. "You know what's interesting, Joy? I have emails between your producers and the DNC. Would you like to know what they say?" Leavitt asked. Joy's face went pale. "Those are private communications," she said quickly. Actually, they're not. They were submitted as part of a congressional inquiry into media coordination with political parties. The public has a right to know when a supposedly independent show is taking direct talking points from a political party, Leavitt replied. She read from her phone. Quote, Joy needs aggressive questions for any Republican guest. Make them look extremist and unreasonable. Democracy depends on it. That's from the DNC communications director to your executive producer. Still want to talk about who lies for a living? She continued. The studio was dead silent. Whoopi looked shocked. Even Sunny Hostin seemed disturbed by the revelation. But Leavitt was just getting started. Here's another one. The View is crucial for our messaging. Joy Behar is our most reliable asset. Asset. That's what they call you, Joy. Not journalist. Not commentator. Asset, Leavitt said. This is taken out of context. Joy protested desperately. Is it? Should I read the one where you personally promised to destroy any Republican woman who comes on the show? Or the one where you said, facts don't matter if the narrative is strong enough? Leavitt asked. She stood up, her youth making her moral authority even more striking. I'm 27 years old, Joy, but I know the difference between journalism and propaganda. I know the difference between tough questions and partisan attacks. I know the difference between serving the public and serving a party, she said. You serve Trump, Joy accused weakly. I serve the office of the presidency and the American people's right to information. You serve the DNC and your own ratings. We are not the same, Leavitt replied. She turned to address the audience directly. Every time you watch this show, you should know that the questions, the topics, even the jokes are coordinated with a political party. This isn't independent media. It's packaged propaganda delivered with a laugh track, she told them. That's defamation, Joy threatened. That's documentation. Every email I've referenced is part of the public record. Every coordination meeting is logged. Every talking point traced. You wanted to discuss transparency? Let's be transparent, Leavitt said. Joy's mouth opened and closed without sound. The entire panel sat frozen. The audience was murmuring angrily, some shouting shame at Joy. But Leavitt raised her hand for silence. Now, if you're watching this and you've ever suspected that media figures are lying to you, that they're pushing agendas rather than pursuing truth, you're not paranoid. You're perceptive. Please share this moment. Click that subscribe button. Your simple act of subscribing and sharing helps expose media manipulation. When you click subscribe, when you share this video, you're helping someone else see through the propaganda. You're showing them they're not alone in questioning what they're being told. Every subscription, every share, reaches someone who needs to know the truth about how media really works. Please, take just a moment to subscribe and share, because your action could open someone's eyes to the manipulation they're experiencing daily. Together, we can demand honest media. Your subscribe click isn't just supporting content. It's supporting transparency and truth for everyone who deserves better from their news sources. Leavitt continued with renewed intensity. You attack my age because you can't attack my arguments. You question my experience because you can't question my facts. You call me a liar because you can't admit you're the one lying, she said. I'm done with this, Joy said, starting to stand. No, I'm done with this, Leavitt declared, her voice commanding the room. I'm done with partisan hacks pretending to be journalists. I'm done with propaganda pretending to be news. I'm done with people like you corrupting public discourse while claiming moral superiority. She pulled out another document. This is a list of every factual error you've made on air this year. It's 43 pages long. Single-spaced. Should we go through them? She asked. That's not necessary. Whoopi interjected, trying to restore order. Isn't it? She questioned my competence based on my age. Let's question hers based on her accuracy, Leavitt replied. She began reading. January 15th. You claim the president signed an executive order that doesn't exist. January 22nd. You misquoted the Constitution. February 3rd. You said inflation was at 20% when it was at 3%. Should I continue? She asked. Stop, Joy pleaded. Why? You never stop when you're attacking guests. You never stop when you're spreading misinformation. You never stop when you're pushing propaganda. Why should I stop? Leavitt pressed. The parallel to their earlier exchange was perfect and devastating. Joy sat down heavily, looking every one of her 81 years. But Leavitt showed unexpected grace. I'll stop because, unlike you, I believe in dignity. But let me be clear about something. Your age isn't the problem, Joy. Your dishonesty is. Your bias isn't the problem. Your deception about it is. Your opinions aren't the problem. Your presentation of them as facts is, she said. She gathered her papers and looked directly at the camera. To everyone watching, you deserve better than this. You deserve media that respects your intelligence. You deserve news that trusts you with complexity. You deserve hosts who don't coordinate with political parties to manipulate your opinions, she said. You can't prove coordination, Joy said desperately. I already have. The congressional subpoena of your communications proved it. Your executive producer's testimony proved it. Your own emails proved it. The only question is whether viewers will keep watching knowing they're being manipulated, Leavitt replied. She walked toward the exit, then turned back. Joy, you're 81 years old. You've had an incredible career. Why are you ending it as a partisan propagandist? Why not use your remaining years to actually inform rather than mislead? She asked. Get out, Joy said weakly. I'm leaving. But first, let me tell you what happens next. The congressional inquiry expands. The FEC investigates your show's coordination with political parties. The FCC reviews your license for presenting propaganda as news. Your 40-year career ends in disgrace, Leavitt said calmly. You can't do that, Joy protested. I'm not doing anything. You did it to yourself every time you took DNC talking points and presented them as your own thoughts. Every time you coordinated attacks on Republican guests. Every time you admitted in writing that you were lying to your audience, Leavitt replied. She looked at the other hosts. Some of you are complicit. Some of you are just cowardly. But all of you know what this show has become, and you've said nothing. That makes you all responsible, she told them. Sonny Hostin tried to speak. We're not all. You're right, Sonny. You're not all equally guilty. But you've all been silent while Joy turned this show into a propaganda outlet. Your silence is compliance, Leavitt interrupted. She walked off to thunderous applause from half the audience while the other half sat in stunned silence. The divide was visible and visceral. The show had literally split its audience in real time. We need to go to commercial immediately, Whoopi announced urgently. But the damage was catastrophic and immediate. Within minutes, #LeavittExposesBehar was trending worldwide. The emails she'd referenced were posted online by congressional investigators. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. ABC suspended The View immediately pending investigation. They had no choice. The evidence of coordination with political parties potentially violated multiple federal regulations. The network faced massive fines and potential criminal charges. Joy Behar never returned to television. Her final appearance was that moment of complete destruction by someone 54 years younger. The image of her speechless and defeated became the defining picture of media bias exposed. But the impact went far beyond one show. Every news and opinion program faced scrutiny about their political coordination. Several other hosts were exposed for similar arrangements. The entire media landscape shifted because one 27-year-old refused to be bullied. Leavitt held a press conference the next day. I didn't go there to destroy Joy Behar. I went to discuss government transparency. But when she attacked my age and competence while secretly coordinating with political operatives, she learned something important. Truth doesn't have an age requirement, she said. The congressional investigation revealed that The View had been essentially functioning as an unofficial arm of the DNC for years. The coordination was so extensive that they'd actually had veto power over Republican guests and had received advance copies of political strategies to align their content. Joy Behar released a statement trying to defend herself, but it only made things worse. She claimed she was proud to stand against fascism, seemingly admitting to everything Leavitt had exposed. Her career was over, her reputation destroyed, her legacy forever tainted as the face of media propaganda. Meanwhile, Leavitt became a hero to those who'd long suspected media bias but had been gaslit about it. Her youth, which Joy had mocked, became symbolic of a new generation refusing to accept institutional deception. The View was eventually canceled. No amount of rebranding could save it after the expose. The studio where it filmed became a museum piece, a reminder of when media manipulation was exposed on live television. Universities began teaching the incident as a masterclass in preparation and composure under fire. Communications programs analyzed how Leavitt had gathered evidence, while allowing Joy to fully expose herself before revealing what she knew. But the most lasting impact was on public trust in media. The revelation that a major show was coordinating with political parties confirmed what many had suspected. It sparked demands for transparency and independence that fundamentally changed how news and opinion shows operated. Joy Behar attempted a comeback a year later on a podcast, but it failed immediately. Her name had become synonymous with propaganda and deception. The woman who'd spent 40 years in entertainment was reduced to a cautionary tale about what happens when bias becomes lies. Karoline Leavitt continued serving as press secretary, her reputation enhanced by the confrontation. When asked about it later, she said simply, "I believe in transparency." Joy Behar learned that transparency includes exposing those who claim to support it while practicing deception. The empty chair Joy left wasn't just a seat on a talk show. It represented the void where journalistic integrity should have been. The space where honest discourse was replaced by coordinated propaganda. The gap between what viewers were told and what was actually happening. Years later, journalism schools would study the confrontation as the moment when citizen journalism defeated institutional propaganda, when preparation trumped seniority, when truth spoken by a 27-year-old carried more weight than lies spoken by an 81-year-old. The final irony was perfect. Joy Behar, who'd attacked Leavitt's youth and inexperience, was destroyed by someone who'd done what Joy never had: actual research, actual preparation, actual evidence. The comedian who'd become a propagandist was exposed by someone who'd become exactly what they claimed to be. "I'm done with this" became more than an exit line. It became a declaration that propaganda disguised as news was no longer acceptable. That coordination between media and political parties would be exposed. That age was less important than integrity. And Karoline Leavitt, at 27, had proven that sometimes the youngest person in the room could be the most prepared, the most honest, and the most devastating to those who'd confused longevity with legitimacy, seniority with superiority, and propaganda with journalism. The View never recovered. Its time slot was given to an actual news program with strict independence requirements. Joy Behar's chair was removed from the set before the show ended, a symbolic gesture that her brand of deceptive commentary was no longer welcome. And in the end, that's what mattered most. Not that a young woman had destroyed an elderly host, but that truth had defeated lies, transparency had exposed coordination, and the American people had finally seen proof of what they'd long suspected. They were being manipulated by those who claimed to inform them. The image of Karoline Leavitt walking off that stage became iconic not for its drama, but for its dignity. She'd faced a hostile environment, exposed corruption, and left with her integrity intact. At 27, she'd done what countless others hadn't. She'd told the truth, provided evidence, and let the consequences follow.